Dr. Harry Sahota, representing our Board of Trustees, join me in leading you with the Pledge of Allegiance. May I ask that you stand, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. This evening, our partner in bringing this program to you is the Japan-America Society.
Hello and welcome to the Orange County Crosstalk Show. I'm Alex Brucci. I'm here at the World Affairs Council in Orange County. They have a special guest, a keynote speaker.
My name is Jim Zumwalt. I work with the Department of State in Washington, D.C., and I'm delighted to be here. One reason is I'm from Southern California, so it's great to be back and enjoy the good weather. But today I'll be speaking about our policy toward Asia and our efforts to engage more intensively with such an important region of the world.
Exactly. You know, the Japan and China right now is competing. How do you see that's going to happen? Is it China or Japan is competing with Japan?
Well, we very much hope to see an improvement in relations between Japan and China because they're the world's second and third largest economies. So it's very important for us to see a reduction of tensions in the region so that the world economy can flourish.
I understand also you work with the Korean also. What are you going to be talking about that tonight?
Yes, I certainly will. I'll be talking about the strength of the U.S.-Korea Security Alliance and how we work very closely with Korea around the world to advance our shared interests.
How do you say Mr. Obama is trying to keep the alliances so clear with China and Japan and Korea? How do you see the U.S. role in this situation?
Well, we have strong security alliances with both Japan and Korea, and we have a partnership with China. And I think President Obama very much would like to work cooperatively with China in areas where we have common interests, like climate change as an example. But we also have differences of view, and we'll speak frankly about those differences. But that doesn't mean that we can't work together in areas where we share common interests.
So you're going to be focusing on any particular topic tonight?
Really, I'll be talking about the whole region, but I'm also very interested in hearing everyone's questions. Okay. And I'll be focusing a little bit on California's role in Asia, because California, as a Pacific state, has huge interest in this region.
Exactly. I'm very pleased to meet you, and we're looking forward for your presentation. So
thank you very much.
Thanks for coming to California.
It's not really in China's own interest. So we'll continue to be very forthright and talk to China where we disagree, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be cooperating and working together when we can. A fourth area where we think it's very important in Asia is nurturing multilateral institutions in Asia. And certainly when you look at the Asia-Pacific region, compared with Europe, Asia, the multilateral institutions in Asia are very underdeveloped, and that is obviously not really in anyone's interest. We very much all benefit and develop, and we benefit from vibrant sort of multilateral institutions. So one of the things that President Obama did when he came into office was we signed the ASEAN Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, which then allowed us to come into the East Asian Summit. So the president once a year will be travels. This year it will be held in Burma, which will be exciting for the president to go there. And then other entities as well, the APEC, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, which this year will be hosted in China, in Beijing in the fall, is another opportunity. And while these organizations, certainly compared with, say, the European Union or NATO, are very sort of in the early stages of development, shall we say, we believe that it's very much in our interest to see the development of robust institutions where the countries in Asia can begin to develop the patterns of cooperation and working together so that we can see continued peace and prosperity in the region. Another aspect of our policy is our economic leg, and we very much, and this is where I think many of you are contributing, because I think a lot of you are involved in businesses where you have dealings in Asia, and that kind of cooperation and ties are very, very important. We have, President Obama has continued the Bush administration push for a TransPacific Partnership, which is a multilateral free trade agreement among 12 nations, the United States and 11 other countries. And if we're successful at concluding these talks, it will be a major step forward in establishing multilateral rules that will help businesses have a common set of rules in 11 countries in Asia. And while some of those countries people sort of scoff and say they're kind of small places, Brunei, New Zealand, Vietnam, the point is that this is a base. We very much, this entity will have a docking mechanism so other countries can join in. What we ultimately hope to see is a regional free trade partnership, much like what you have in Europe, where trade barriers among the European countries have gone down, which has really contributed to European prosperity. So we very much hope to conclude that agreement soon, and then ultimately see other countries like Korea, like the Philippines, joining in to build out from that kind of very robust trade organization. One interesting thing about this is the Chinese have been watching with great interest this entity, and I think at first they were kind of scoffing because they didn't think it was achievable, that we could get 11 countries who ranged in development from places like Vietnam on the one hand to Canada, United States, Australia on the other. But recently the Chinese have become much more serious about wanting to talk to us about what all this means. And while China is a long way from being ready to accept the high standards of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, what they did agree to do is something we've been after China for 15 years, was to begin talking about a bilateral investment treaty with the United States. We have bilateral investment treaties with over 50 countries. What those are is really an assurance to American business that should they invest in that country, there will be a dispute settlement mechanism, there will be rule of law and sanctity of contracts, and some other things that are very important to businesses when they're making decisions about investments. And I think what the Chinese sort of recognized is that the investment chapter in the Trans-Pacific Partnership will mean that American companies have a lot of alternatives to China as a place to invest. And so the Chinese decided they wanted to begin Trans-Pacific Partnership talks, they wanted to begin bilateral investment treaty talks with the United States. So we've begun those, and what we hope to conclude is an agreement with China that will offer some additional protections for American investors in China. And then the last aspect of our policy, and this is one where when I say our policy, although we very much think this is important, most of the work is not done by governments, but actually done by private entities and non-governmental organizations, including yours, the World Affairs Council and the Japan-American Society, and that is promoting people-to-people ties. And these people-to-people ties are so important. They really form the basis for our partnerships with friends in Asia. I was sitting at the head table today talking about experiences people have hosting foreign students themselves participating in study abroad programs. And I like to think of these programs as the investments in the future of our relationship with those countries. Partly this is from my own personal experience. I was someone who was studying German in high school. I was very interested in going to Europe because my mother is from Europe and my relatives were European. And I signed up for a study abroad program thinking I was going to go to Austria because I spoke German, and they sent me to Japan of all places. And that was really a life-changing experience for me and totally reoriented my own approach. My family hosted a student from Ghana, which was, again, a very good experience for me in talking to someone about her experiences growing up in a developing country. So I think these kinds of programs are very important. You know, one very good example of that is when Chinese President Xi Jinping came to the United States for his state visit, and we were trying to figure out where we should take him to experience the United States, and he said that he wanted to go back to Iowa to visit his host family when he had been a regional official interested in hog farming. He had come to Iowa to learn about how Americans, what kind of techniques we use to raise hogs. And he had stayed with a farm family for a few days. And so he said, that's why I want to go back. I want to see my host family. And when he talked to President Obama about his experiences in the United States, you can tell that despite all of the differences we had and there's some very serious issues they were talking about, but he had a warmth and affection for American farmers because he saw this family as very similar, having similar goals and aspirations as he had when he was responsible for rural development in his province. These people wanted to raise healthy food and make a living on producing food for the customers. And so he, despite all our differences, those kind of personal ties are something that's very important. So I do want to conclude my remarks by saying how much I appreciate all of the work that all of you are doing in many of these areas, but particularly in promoting the people-to-people exchanges, because as I said, I think these are wonderful experiences. But before I stop, I did want to have one brief advertisement, if you'll permit me, because my ears perked up when I heard there were some students in the audience. And the only reason I'm working for the State Department today, I was a student in California at a university, and the thought of working for the federal government in world affairs didn't occur to me. I was interested in world affairs. I was studying Asian studies in college, and I knew I wanted a career being involved in Asia. But the thought of going to work for the State Department didn't occur to me. And one of my professors, just offhand once, when we were talking about what I wanted to do, said, you know, you really should apply for the Foreign Service. You speak Japanese, you're interested in Asia, that would be a good career. And I kind of didn't know much about it. And so I do encourage all the students who are here. I know you're interested in world affairs for being here, but think about a career in government service. One of the things I say to prospective people about, I've been in the government now for 34 years, and one reason I enjoy my job so much is every single day I learn something new. It's just amazing how stimulating the job is. So that's one reason. And all the experiences of being able to go abroad and interact with foreigners and being paid for doing this is wonderful. So there's plenty of opportunities in world affairs, but I certainly encourage you to think about government service as one option. There's some very good information on the State Department website. It's www.state.gov, very easy site. And you click on jobs at State and you can get some information about the process. So sorry for that brief advertisement, and now I'm told you're an audience that asks lots of questions, so I'm looking forward to that very much. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zumwalt, for that enlightening speech. We actually had two questions from students that you somewhat addressed already, but let me ask, because they posed a question. Are there any specific programs you refer to the students? And secondly, what should they study at college to prepare them?
I'll answer the second question first, because there is no one way of thing you should do or boxes you need to check. I was a sort of Asian studies and Japanese language major in college. My wife, who's also in the Foreign Service, was a French major. But I've met people who majored in things ranging from journalism to physics. So definitely to take the Foreign Service exam, you need to have a good knowledge of American history, and I would encourage that. Foreign language is very desirable. There's a bonus for people who speak challenging languages that are in short supply. Thank you very much for listening.